I'm Steve Marisabido, Bachelor of Science in Nursing, Block B, second year level of Amando Hoppe College. Good day. In this subject, bioethics, me and my companion will tackle about moral issues and truth-telling. The moral issues of paternalism mentions a Confucianist introduced the four beginnings, the concept of human-heartedness or the feeling of helpfulness and commiseration, or expression of sympathy and source for others. What Matthews is implying here refers to what psychologists claim lies deep within the human psyche, the desire of compassion, to be of service and to assist wherever it is needed. Example for this is the Good Samaritan. In Christian religion, it refers to this as a sense of charity, kindness, or benevolence, which reflects to what have been considered previously to the principle of benevolence and or non-maleficence. In connection of mentions to the moral issue of paternalism and truth-telling through his emphasis on the natural goodness of humanity and the importance of moral cultivation, suggesting that rulers should prioritize the well-being of their people and act with integrity rather than imposing their will. Paternalism involves some sort of interference with an individual's freedom of action. When we say paternalism, from the Latin word pater means father, or paternus means fatherly, means the act of being fatherly to someone as if the latter were one's own offspring. In other words, it involves acting like a father to a person for the latter's own good and interest. The core moral issue of paternalism is the legitimacy of limiting human freedom and autonomy in a free society of equal where all individuals are accorded respect, autonomy, and freedom by virtue of their humanity. What in this type that define the general idea of paternalism and indicate their different aspects. Paternalism is action that limits a person or a group of liberty or autonomy, and it is intended to promote their own good. Paternalism can also imply that the behavior is against or regardless of the will of the person, or also that the behavior expresses an attitude of superiority. This includes and their meaning in this PPT via video. Number 1 is pure or impure, restricted or extended. Number 3 is positive or negative. 4, soft or hard. And number 5 is direct and indirect. In the medical context, so what is the connection of the moral issue of paternalism in the medical context in bioethics? In bioethics, medical paternalism where healthcare providers make decisions for patients raises moral issues by potentially violating patients' autonomy and the principles of informed consent and shared decision making, even if intended to benefit the patients. This includes the personal paternalism and state paternalism. Justification for personal and state paternalism. Paternalism, whether personal or state level, is justified by the claim that interfering with an individual is liberty against their will. It's ultimately for their own good, promoting their welfare or protecting them from harm.
Application of ethical theories. Natural law ethics justifies both personal and state paternalism. The state can intervene in healthcare decisions when individuals lack the knowledge or capacity to act in their best interests. Physician superior knowledge. Doctors have expertise that patients may lack, allowing them to make better informed decisions. Limitations of individual autonomy. Individuals may make poor health choices due to momentary passions or lack of information. State's role in promoting natural benefits. The state is responsible for creating policies and laws that promote health and well-being, even if it means overriding individual choices in some cases. Moral justification. State paternalism, while restricting individual liberty, is argued to be morally right because it protects people from their own weaknesses and ensures the common good. Unrestricted liberty can lead to chaos. Kant's perspective. Kant's concept of autonomy might seem to oppose paternalism. However, in emergency medical situations like unconsciousness, paternalistic intervention becomes necessary to save a life. Rawls' theory. Rawls' theory of social and political morality is compatible with state paternalism. The state can establish practices that promote the common good and general welfare. Rawls' moral principles. While individuals have a right to autonomy, there are circumstances where intervention is justified, such as with mentally incompetent individuals. Utilitarianism support. Paternalism if state laws and policies promote the greatest good for the greatest number of people. Truth-telling. Power imbalance. The doctor-patient relationship inherently involves a power imbalance. The question is whether this justifies deception by the physician. Justification for deception. It explores whether it's justifiable for a doctor to deceive a patient, considering the patient's autonomy and the limits of legitimate paternalism. Two approaches. Two contrasting approaches to truth-telling are presented. Person-centered prioritizes the patient's right to know the truth, regardless of the potential consequences. The physician's moral obligation is to tell the truth. Problem-centered considers the patient's problem as a primary focus, withholding the truth might be acceptable if it serves the patient's best interests. Moral obligation. Physician-patient relationship is a moral one, demanding the physician utmost concern for the patient's well-being. Fallibility of physicians. It acknowledges the physicians are fallible and makes mistakes. Therefore, withholding the truth might sometimes be in the patient's best interest, particularly if their condition is worsening. This is often justifiable by the use of placebos. I it versus I do relationships. Joseph Fletcher compares two types of relationship. I it, a subject-object relationship where one person treats another as a thing to be manipulated. I too, a person-person relationship characterized by respect, integrity, and mutual understanding. In this relationship, manipulation is impossible. Physician-patient relationship. Patients have the right to say yes or no to treatment. The text implies that the problem-centered approach is evolving into an I-it relationship. Patient's right. Patients have the right to self-determination, to be treated as person, not objects, and to have knowledge of their condition and prognosis. Fletcher's view. Fletcher argues that if a patient is treated without knowledge of their condition, they are treated as an it or object rather than a do or person. This deprives them of personal responsibility and moral status. Ethical treatment. Ethical medical treatment requires respecting patient autonomy and treating them as individuals with inherent worth and rights.
Justifications for truth-telling. Denying patients knowledge about their condition undermines their human and moral dignity. Patients own the knowledge about their condition, so withholding it from them is unethical. The ideal physician-patient relationship is built on mutual trust, respect, and recognition of each other's right. Withholding critical information, especially in life and death situations, deprive patients of the opportunity to prepare for death and make informed decisions. Confidentiality. This is in conjunction with one provision of the Hippocratic Oath: whatever I see or hear, professionally or privately, which ought not to be divulged, I will keep secret and tell no one. The practical function of confidentiality in a physician-patient relationship underscores the confidence and trust that the patient has for the physician. Confidentiality can be violated if it is necessary to produce conditions that will bring about happiness and well-being. Consider the following instances. If someone's life is in great danger, then confidentiality loses its binding power. The physician is placed in the middle of a conflict between the interests of the individual and the interests of society. Doctors, for example, are required by the law to reveal certain information about their patients. This legal obligation enjoins them to report the names of patients who are carriers of communicable disease, example, AIDS, syphilis, or tuberculosis, to health departments. Four conditions may be cited to justify the violation of confidentiality. 1. When keeping the secret would be detrimental to the common good. 2. When the subject of the secret intends to inflict grave injury upon an innocent third party. 3. When it's necessary for the subject of the secret to avert grave injury. And 4. When it is necessary for the one keeping the secret to avoid grave injury. Application of ethical theories. Natural law ethics maintains that each individual has an inherent worth and is entitled to know the truth about himself or herself. A physician, therefore, has a duty not to betray the confidence of his or her patient. Such a relationship, however, is not sacred, and such a duty is not absolute. In the physician-patient relationship, the former is under obligation to preserve confidentiality because keeping promises is an absolute duty. Whatever these circumstances are, however, one should make one's decision in the name of agapic love or concern for the welfare of the patient.
At the end of this topic, we did a survey how important is paternalism, truth-telling, and confidentiality in HIV/AIDS cases. Since this case is very crucial and needs a very deep psychological understanding, we invited 16 anonymous individuals to test their importance in paternalism, truth-telling, and confidentiality. Upon the result of the test, 12 respondents that paternalism, truth-telling, and confidentiality is very important, with a percentage of 75%, while 3 respondents respond somewhat important, with a percentage of 18.75%. And there are 1 respondent that for him is not very important, for a percentage of 6.25%. These results suggest that most respondents believe paternalism, truth-telling, and confidentiality are crucial in HIV/AIDS cases, aligning with ethical standards in healthcare. I'm Steve Martin Sabido.
Carmela Camille Berba.
And I'm Monalyn Balana.
Good day, thank you.